Tonight, we hear from local health officials on how they are protecting our islands from the rare Ebola virus outbreak. Plus, a major investment by CUC can see Cayman meeting its renewable energy targets. We'll tell you more about that. And after years of intense training, one woman is ready to face her toughest challenge yet. I'm Mina Worms in for Shanda Gallego, and Compass News starts right now. An outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda has sparked international concern. Contingencies have been put in place in case of further spread. The Ministry of Health, Environment and Sustainability says they're closely monitoring the situation.
Making sure that you're not in contact with other people who could be infected with Ebola. There's different burial practices that have been shown to lead to spread. So I think just taking the precautions, contacting public health before you travel to make sure that you maybe are bringing appropriate PPE that you would need. We're making sure that anyone traveling from the DRC or Uganda are just asked, if they have any symptoms, if they were exposed to anyone with Ebola, and then appropriate actions will be taken from that.
Dr. Wolf says the main focus of concern is to the source of the spread of the virus, which is the eastern side of Congo. She says this strain of the virus has shown in the past to have a 30% mortality rate and can initially show up as common symptoms like fever and weakness, but can also include intense hemorrhaging or bleeding. Dr. Wolf says that local resources are being put in place in the unlikely event that a local case is found. Meantime, the Caribbean Public Health Agency says they are closely monitoring the situation after the WHO declared a public health emergency of international concern. But the CPHA says the current risk to the Caribbean remains low. There have been over 800 suspected cases recorded in Central Africa, with over 100 deaths. Yesterday, a U.S.-bound flight from Paris was diverted to Montreal, Canada, after authorities say a passenger initially from Congo boarded the flight in error. And police are investigating a daytime stabbing incident that happened yesterday afternoon near the Turtle Center. 2 men were involved in an altercation that left 1 man in critical condition. He remains in hospital after he suffered stab wounds to his abdomen, head, and neck. The other person involved was arrested on the suspicion of wounding. Caribbean Utilities Corporation's plans to spend almost $500 million on upgrades to Cayman's energy grid by 2030. The goal? To lower costs for the 35,000 customers and strengthen the energy grid. Philip Richter sat down with a CUC executive to get more details on the planned investment.
The $484 billion really crosses all aspects of generation investments and T&D investments, as well as our future-looking investments in resiliency and renewable energy as well, alternate energy.
Letitia Lawrence, CUC's Chief Financial Officer, explains the project will be funded by a combination of cash, short-term, and long-term loans.
We target a 55% debt, 4 to 5% equity capital structure, and this helps us to maintain strong credit ratings. The credit rating agencies look for strong, healthy balance sheets when they for the credit ratings that they provide, so it's always important for us to have those investment-grade credit ratings.
Between 2016 and 2021, CUC's annual capital expenditure averaged $60 million US. Since 2022, that has gone up an average of $100 million a year. Ms. Lawrence attributes the increase to the growth Cayman saw after COVID.
We've also shifted our investment strategy not only to look at those traditional T&D and generation investments, but also to look at resiliency and grid hardening, which is obviously very important for our region.
The energy regulator has issued RFPs for 2 major projects to meet the growing demand: a 22.5 megawatt solar plant and roughly 94 megawatts of new generating capacity. These are expected to come online in 2028. In the meantime, CUC has to ensure it meets the country's energy needs as new hotels, offices, and condos open.
We currently have 20 megawatts of temporary generation, so these are small generating units that we have to utilize until the new generation capacity comes online. By our projections, that will be sufficient.
CUC's project, like the battery energy storage system and life cycle upgrade, launched by early 2025, and have led to approximately $8 million US in fuel cost savings. Reporting for Compass News, I'm Philip Richter.
And tonight on Forefront premiere, the Honorable Andre Ebanks joins host Tammy Silliman live, marking 1 year since the National Coalition for Caymanians held its first cabinet meeting. Over the past year, government has put forward a series of initiatives, but while progress has been outlined, key challenges still remain, including long-standing national issues that impact daily life. 1 year in, the discussion will examine what has been delivered, where gaps still exist, and how government plans to move policy into results. And now let's check in with Simon Boxall for a weather preview.
Thanks, Mina. Well, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration has issued their 2026 hurricane season forecast. Meanwhile, here in the Cayman Islands, we had a little bit of a rain shower this afternoon. We could see a bit more of that tomorrow afternoon as well, and possibly some thunder. Meanwhile, waves are just 2 to 3 feet, and we've got east to southeasterly winds, fairly gentle winds, beautiful conditions. A lot more news and weather after the break. Stay with us.
Camana Bay was founded on a simple idea that a thoughtfully designed community can enrich lives. 55 Sargassum Way is Cayman's first truly integrated health and wellness center. Located in the 7-mile corridor, steps from the Camana Bay Town Center, the 110,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility allows medical and allied healthcare providers the opportunity to curate innovative premises for the modern customer. To register your interest, visit 55sargassumway.ky.
This year marks an extraordinary milestone for Caribbean Utilities Company, our 60th anniversary. Since 1966, CUC has had the privilege of serving the Cayman Islands. As we reflect on our past and look towards the future, this milestone also presents an important opportunity to ensure that our brand evolves alongside the company we have become.
This brand refresh is not about reinventing who we are. It's about modernizing and strengthening the identity of CUC in a way that reflects our heritage, our values, and our vision for the future.
Because our mission remains the same as it has always been, to power the homes, businesses, and the possibilities of the Cayman Islands.
Today you're on top of the world, but tomorrow all of that could change with a diagnosis of a critical illness. Make sure you're prepared with critical illness insurance from Sagicor.
Your news, your Cayman, Compass TV.
Motorcycle enthusiasts in Cayman suited up over the weekend for the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, a global event raising awareness and money for men's cancers. Riders polished their boots and dressed to impress as part of the worldwide initiative, which this year drew more than 125,000 participants across the globe. Since its founding in 2012, the event has raised $60 million, with Gilbert Nicoletta hosting the Cayman leg for the second year in a row.
I think this is the largest turnout we've ever had as a group, so this is fantastic. Most of these guys don't ride together on a regular basis, but we're here to raise awareness about men's health, specifically prostate cancer.
I've been riding in the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride for about 6 years now, initially in London and more recently the last 2 years here in Cayman. It's a great cause, really important, men's health. It's kind of linked in with a whole Movember thing, which I've also done before. So it's a good excuse for a nice ride out with your friends and raise some money for a good cause.
If you are going through financial hardship or if your insurance is exhausted, please do reach out to us. We want to ensure that everybody does get screened at the appropriate age for as many cancers as possible, including prostate cancer, lung cancer, colon cancer, even for the ladies, cervical cancer and breast cancer. So please do reach out to us and we want to help you on your way.
Anyone looking for more details can head on over to the Cayman Islands Cancer Society website. And Sargassum seaweed once again lines Cayman shores, and if you didn't see the brown pileup, you probably caught some of the stench. Experts say it's going to be a record year.
We're already at 20 to 30% more sargassum in the Atlantic than we were at this time last year and any other previous year. So we expect that sargassum to make its way into the Caribbean and then to be carried by currents all the way through the Caribbean up to the Gulf of Mexico. But obviously on its route it passes Cayman. Typically it's a pelagic seaweed that floats out in the open ocean, but when it gets near to land it gets washed ashore where it becomes really problematic, as you can see around us today.
With so much of it piling up, ideas for potential uses are rising to the surface. Mr. Austin says there is research going into uses such as fertilizer or biofuels, but noted the technology being used to conduct the research does not exist in Cayman. As it gathers ashore, it releases hydrogen sulfide into the atmosphere, giving off the foul smell, so people understandably want it removed. And before we get to weather, let's check in with Simon. Simon, the sargassum, as you can see, has been pretty intense over the last few weeks, and surely people want it gone. So what are some of the precautionary measures people should take when removing sargassum?
Well, as it was mentioned just then, it does emit, once it comes ashore, it starts to die and it starts to emit hydrogen sulfide gas. A lot of people are quite concerned about that, but unless you have respiratory issues, normally it's not in sufficient concentrations in the atmosphere to cause a problem. I mean, if you're working with it all day long, it can be a bit of a problem. The other thing is people remove it often when it's still wet, and then they actually take a lot of the beach with them unintentionally. So sometimes it's better let it dry a little bit if you can, hold on a couple of days, and then you're less likely to remove a lot of the precious sand. We're having issues with erosion too, of course. Anyway, let's get back to the situation here with our weather. 85 degrees currently, wind coming out of the southeast at 9 miles an hour. Now, unfortunately, you can see here 100% cloud cover, so if you were planning to watch the SpaceX Heavy rocket shoot off from the Starbase in Texas, the window opens at 5:30, anytime between 5:30 and 7 o'clock tonight. It's going to shoot off over the top of the Cayman Islands and then head off to the southeast, if everything goes as planned, that is, with the booster falling into the Gulf, and then the rocket will continue on past us. Anyway, so it looks like it's not going to be very easy to see. We were concerned about the sunshine looking at it. If you look off to the southwest, you would have been looking at the sun, but it looks like it's pretty cloudy, so I'm not sure how good of a view we're going to get. We'll have to see whether or not the launch goes off as planned. Anyway, the NOAA has issued the seasonal forecast for the 2026 hurricane season. This is the U.S. government agency, NOAA, and they're saying there's a 55% chance that it's going to be less active than normal. So normally we get 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes. They're suggesting 8 to 14 named storms, 3 to 6 hurricanes, 1 to 3 majors. So this is partly due to the El Nino, which is expected to develop and into a strong one later as we enter the active part of the hurricane season. Obviously the sea surface temperatures are warm, so there's sort of two competing things going on. Those hot temperatures on the sea surface also can lead to hurricanes. So as they say, you can never rule it out, the possibility of a hurricane, so don't let your guard down. Turning to the radar imagery, you can see widely scattered showers around the Cayman Islands at the present time. In fact, they're quite strong over Little Cayman earlier today. We can likely see another round of that tomorrow. As the daytime heats up the land, we tend to see atmospheric instability, and we do tend to see a little rain at this time of year and possibly some thunder. You can see that represented here on the enhanced satellite imagery. Also over Texas, some pretty disturbed weather, a number of flight cancellations and delays as well, and that actually extends up all the way up into New York, where they're seeing some pretty heavy rainfall at the present time as well. So tonight's forecast, there's a chance we could see a little late night shower here and there. Temperatures dropping down to 81, wind coming out of the east-southeast at 9 miles an hour. Tomorrow's forecast, 86 degrees, going to feel pretty warm. Wind again coming out of the east-southeast. We're going to see that continue for the next few days through to Monday. It might slightly tick up, increase a little bit over the coming days. Again, chance of that afternoon thunderstorm, as I said, a little bit of rain as we saw here in Grand Cayman earlier today. And the frogs know the rain's coming. Some people find them, get a bit freaked out by them, but they obviously eat the insects. They make this beautiful chorus sometimes when the rain does start coming down. They all gather up to mate. That's a Cuban tree frog. We have we have two different types of frog as well. We have a little tiny greenhouse frog, which is less than an inch in length. Rarely seen though. So the extended forecast is, as I mentioned, rain is likely often in the afternoon, tends to be nice in the mornings, beautiful if you want to get out to the beach or on the water, fairly warm during the day and cooling down a little bit at night. And with that, let's check in with the man himself, Seaford Russell Jr.
I was quite the frog you had on the screen there, Simon. I used to catch them when I was young. Though people used to say that if they peed on your hand or urinated in your hand, you'll get a wart, but never seemed to bother me when I used to catch them all those years ago. Anyway, lots of action happening this summer. You might have heard the World Cup is going down. Combat fans can also look forward to the White House UFC event. I'll certainly be tuning into that. The Commonwealth Games, and I'll tell you about the Pan American Gymnastics Championships, which a couple of Cayman athletes have made the team. That and more in sports next. Stick around.
Flat tire? Dead battery? Don't let car trouble slow you down. Tony's Toys has the best selection of premium batteries and top brand tires. Ready for quick installation. Get expert tire fitting, balancing, wheel alignment, and battery replacements hassle-free. Drive with confidence. Visit Tony's Toys today. 91 Sherwood Drive. Call 946-8697 or email parts@tonystoys.net. Shop now at tonystoys.net.
And that is the true position at Tony's Toys.
Ashley Outdoor Furniture has everything you need to entertain for every occasion. Whether you choose a sectional or a dining table, your modern outdoor furniture is sure to turn heads every time. From vibrant colors to durable frames against most weather conditions, our wide selection of deck furniture will always have your best style interests at heart. Shop our assortment of outdoor pieces for that extra wow factor for parties and small get-togethers.
Cineco's parametric insurance after hurricanes is now available for motor policies. Fixed automatic payouts cover incidental vehicle expenses like fuel, cleanup, and minor repairs. No claims, no damage required. $200 for comprehensive policies or $100 for third-party policies. Available exclusively through Cineco and included with all new motor insurance policies and upon renewal for current policies. Visit Cineco.ky today. Cineco. Keeping Cayman covered.
Have you heard about Alex's Place? It's HSA's Adolescent Mental Health Hub, a comforting, safer space for ages 10 to 20. Receive expert-informed care from a multidisciplinary team of mental health professionals. Visit Alex's Place at the front entrance of the Anthony S. Eden Hospital. Walk-ins and referrals welcome.
It's understandable why an environmental impact assessment is often misunderstood to investigate only how a project will impact the environment. But an EIA brings together scientists and experts from different disciplines. They assess what the likely impacts will be for all of us, both socially and economically, as well as for wildlife and the natural environment. An environmental impact assessment only adds a % or 2 to the cost of a project, while the benefits of knowing how best to proceed, priceless.
Our 3 athletes from the Cayman Islands have been named for the 2026 Pan American Gymnastics Championships taking place next month in Brazil. Karthik Adapa, Justin Spencer, and Sienna Santiago will touch down in Rio de Janeiro to put their best foot forward. Santiago is arguably the best female gymnast currently. Adapa remains the only Caymanian gymnast to qualify for the finals at the Pan American Gymnastics Championships. He did that in 2024. No doubt he'll be looking to do the same this year. And Spencer Well, he said he'll be taking in every moment once competition begins.
Preparing to try to get the score that I need to qualify for other events. This is going to be my first senior competition, so I'm kind of shooting for the stars in this one. I have a bit lower expectations, I think, than what I would coming into the junior event, but I'm really going to try to give it my all. Working this week and the next ones to really clean up the skills that I have. So I figured out my routines, what I'm going to do for the competition, but now I'm just working on perfecting it so that when I can compete, it's ready.
All right, so the Pan Am Gymnastics Championships takes place from the 17th to 21st of June. From one Justin to the next. Mr. Justin Hastings completed round 1 at the Visit Knoxville Open, which should be wrapping up just about now. Hastings finished at par after shooting 71 at the Holston Hills Country Club. He had 4 birdies throughout the round and could have gone under, but that 15th hole, he shot 5 on a par 4. Either way, round 2 begins tomorrow, so he'll have a chance to do his thing there. But taking place this weekend is the AFN 52 MMA kickboxing and boxing event in Clearwater, Florida. DeMar Robinson and Philip Livingston will be there competing in Florida as amateur boxers at the Fight Night Fitness Center. Their head coach, Fillmore Barnett, said his fighters will be flying out tomorrow and are prepared to return home with wins.
The boys are in great shape, ready to roll, especially Demar. You know, he worked very hard and putting out his full 100% to shine. Philip is ready to locked in, and we're going to see great things from these boys because, you know, they can fight, and like I said, they're 100% ready, no excuses. We should see great result from them.
Well, good luck to the pair of Cayman boxers competing this weekend, and good luck to Mr. Kiffin Simpson, who is also competing this weekend, but he'll be at the Indy 500. Simpson will buckle up to race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway after qualifying earlier this week. He caught up with Daybreak's host, Toby Brennan, for an exclusive interview. Here is a snippet from that chat.
For kind of a big race this weekend, so what does race prep look for you mentally, physically?
Yeah, it's we've got the Indy 500 coming up, like you said, biggest race of the year for us. So yeah, it's a lot of prep that goes into it. We've been having practice all last week on the track, and we had qualifying this past weekend. We qualified P7, I think. So pretty solid starting spot. The team did a great job, and the car's feeling good. So just going into this week, we're just putting the finishing touches on it and getting ready for the race on Sunday.
All right, so catch the full interview tomorrow on Daybreak at 7 p.m. Simpson had a lot of good things to say. 7 a.m. Before I go, I want to wish everyone an International Waitress and Waiters Day, a day for restaurant managers and customers to recognize and express their appreciation to these workers. Remember, if the steak isn't well done, or rare for that matter, don't take it out on the waiters. Be nice to them. And make sure you give them a tip. That is it for sports. More news after the break. Stick around.
Camana Bay was founded on a simple idea that a thoughtfully designed community can enrich lives. 55 Sargassum Way is Cayman's first truly integrated health and wellness center. Located in the 7-mile corridor, steps from the Camana Bay Town Center, the 110,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility allows medical and allied healthcare providers the opportunity to curate innovative premises for the modern customer. To register your interest, visit 55sargassumway.ky.
Have you heard about Alex's Place? It's HSA's Adolescent Mental Health Hub, a comforting, safer space for ages 10 to 20. Receive expert-informed care from a multidisciplinary team of mental health professionals. Visit Alex's place at the front entrance of the Anthony S. Eden Hospital. Walk-ins and referrals welcome.
Today you've got all the moves, but tomorrow a critical illness could stop you in your tracks. Make sure you're prepared with critical illness insurance from Sagicor.
Mother's Day lasts one day, but at Studio 54 Savannah, we're celebrating ladies all month long. Treat yourself to a little luxury with 25% off massages, manicures, pedicures, facials, and hair services throughout May. Relax, refresh, and feel your best at Studio 54 Savannah Branch, located at Country Corner, Savannah. Appointments are filling fast, so call 746-4247 today to book your pampering session. Gift certificates are available. Studio 54, because every woman deserves to be celebrated.
After conquering the likes of Kilimanjaro, Aconcagua and Vinson, Cayman resident Anoush Pal is now taking on Mount Everest as she looks to complete the 7 summits.
We have been on expedition for almost 40 days now. I arrived April 10th and today is May 20th. We have been doing a series of just acclimatization. My goal in climbing these mountains and completing the 7 summits is really just to inspire people. As a female in the mountaineering space, I will be bringing some Cayman Islands paraphernalia to the top. I've got a hat, I've got a flag, and it's really exciting to be going from sea level in the beautiful Cayman Islands to the top of the world.
To prepare, Pal trained 2 to 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, spending up to 3 hours on a treadmill with a 65-pound backpack and hiking boots. As the founder of Cayman ABA, a therapy clinic that helps kids with autism, she wants to inspire people to step outside their comfort zone and challenge themselves. Pal is expected to reach the summit today. Before we go tonight, as Simon mentioned earlier, the SpaceX Starship 12 is expected to launch in an hour from now after some delays at 6:30 p.m. The test launch will be out of Boca Chica, Texas. Hazard Management Cayman Islands says they do not anticipate any impact to Cayman. They're reminding the public, don't approach or touch any unusual objects, and if you see something, take a picture and take note of the location. And that is all the time we have for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, take care.